Hi, everyone. Welcome to People Matters LinkedIn Live. This is like a precursor to our People Matters TechHR Singapore conference, which is planned in March. And we wanted to start early on the conversations. We've got some great bunch of leaders to have a conversation on a topic which is very close to our heart. But before we get right into it, would love to understand where all you guys are joining from. So if you can use the chat window and comment where you're joining from, would love to hear. Give us a hi, give us a thing that what you want to listen to. Would love to sort of get your locations, and then we'll quickly get going. Our idea would be to have a good candid conversation, and I feel we have a great bunch of leaders for achieving just that result. So while everyone is sort of joining in, tuning in, um, I will get going on some of the introductory part of this entire session. So, first things first, I think the topic itself is very, very exciting, and it directly matches with the theme of what TechHR Singapore Conference in 2026 is going to deliver. We are talking about becoming the orchestrator of growth, driving human and AI transformation. And I love the word orchestrator. Many a times when I'm conversing with leaders, that's the view that I personally have for our community to move forward and build. And really, I see each one of you as growth drivers in your organizations and in our ecosystem. So we're going to sort of deep dive into aspects such as translating human needs into organizational systems. We're also going to sort of look at businesses leveraging the human strength. Of course, there is this whole aspect of human and AI transformation, that whole partnership. What's the right blend? We'll get into some of those conversations as well. But truly, what does it mean to drive transformation with the people first mindset is what we are wanting to sort of cover. So again, as we are gearing up for the TechHR conference in Singapore in the month of March, this is like a precursor LinkedIn Live that we wanted to bring forward to our community. Things are starting to warm up for the excitement that's planned ahead in March. So, on this conversation with me today, I have three amazing guests, and I loved preparing with them for this. And I'll get them one by one on the screen as I sort of call them out. So first is David Fish, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at a very interesting name, which is No to Fish, and I absolutely love that name, David. And I'm looking forward to learning more from you. Welcome.
Thank you. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Lovely. June-Suh, who's the Chief Human Resources Officer at SUTD, and really looking forward to your insights, June.
Yes, it's mutual. Thank you.
Lovely. And from Indonesia, we have Sri Adhityo, who's the Vice President of People Operations, Teleperformance in Indonesia. Welcome, Adhityo.
Yeah. Hi, Puskar. How are you? So looking forward as well.
Lovely. So we have David from Australia, June from Singapore, Aditya from Indonesia. I think perfect mix to get into this conversation. And I love having candid questions right up front without the warm up, because that's the best form of warm up, is what I have discovered over the years. Let's be blunt. In our ecosystem, and all of you are experts in your own space, in your domains, and have played a very important role in shaping this community going forward. Has HR genuinely gained strategic power in the age of AI, or it's more simply inherited more responsibility over control? Would love to get started with this, and this question is open for all three. Maybe David, you want to get a crack at this first, followed by June, and then Aditya, and then we'll get going deeper with your question.
Sure. Happy to wade into this one. I'm going to start with it depends. So what I see is if the organization is genuinely people first and knows the value of people, but more importantly, the value of collective performance, not just individuals performing well, but orchestrating, there's that word again, performance across groups of people, then I see HR as a top table contributor. That's actually increasing in my world. I see with the challenge of retaining top talent, stabilizing teams, really starting to focus a lot of organizations that maybe weren't so people-centric into that space. And there's a really simple way this shows up. So when I run a high-performance team session with a senior team, if HR is part of that session, not just an organizer, that's a signal to me of that kind of organization. It seems really, really small. But I can notice the difference, whether I'm just being contacted by HR or whether they're in the room. And the opposite of that, of course, is when values are a poster on the wall, where it's profit before people. And then I do still see HR being used as a service and support function.
Okay.
Okay.
So go on.
Go ahead, June, please.
Yeah, in my space, I don't think we can completely say HR has, become more powerful in the light of AI or gain strategic dominance of power. But I think the whole debate of AI being a superpower and how organizations has to now peel back and rethink what next for us actually gives me an advantage or something that I've always been preaching. But I found that it's always it became easier for people to grasp the big picture. I've always told my leaders strategy drives structure and strategy drives people placement. And AI has actually enabled me to personify that or actually to make that real for them. In the past, it looked like textbook knowledge, but now everybody has to, step back and say, you know, get your AI literacy, make a stand whether AI is utopia, dystopia, when is it dystopia, when is it utopia, you know, how do we run the AI race that is going after the brainstem and yet manage ethics? All right. It all boils down still to the strategy and what kind of people then we hire, what kind of people we promote. Yeah. So it's all now coming together and easier for HR conversations.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying that things are coming together. I think it's really for us to grab that and take that forward is what I am reading. Aditya, what's your view?
Yeah, I think the answer is, because like David saying, is depends, but maybe some of you aware that TP, where people is actually, the core, the main core business of TP. So actually we, in HR at TP, we again strategic what you call strategic relevance, not power, because it still really depends on the other function as well, right? Because we have the transformation team, we have the IT team, of course, we have the financial on the CFO as well, because we're talking about the cost. But as we are put our people first, like David mentioned, yes, we are being in the front seat to drive the AI transformations, because, then we need to be prepared for our workforce, to AI-driven skill mapping, and provide them with the right skills to to embrace the AI, to utilize the AI, not being afraid of replaced by AI. So yes, of course, we are on the front seat on driving this transformation with AI, Puskar.
Lovely. And I can totally understand in your case, people are your business in Teleperformance, really. That's the single biggest piece that you guys offer. And everything around that would determine the business outcome or business success for what you're providing in the market.
Yep.
Lovely. 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 So, in your opinion, to the panel, where does HR get overridden if there are areas? And David drew a very interesting analogy in terms of, are they setting the room or they are, sort of driving the room? There are two different aspects to it. where do you think in organizations where you've not seen that, where do you think HR gets overridden when it comes to orchestrating some of these discussions, especially in the age of AI?
Sure, I'm happy to jump in and lead this one again. It's for me, it's when what's being proposed isn't aligned with what the broader business is facing into. Now, that could be a positive strategic change. It could be disruption being caused by the market. It could be market pressure on sales and margin. It's when there's a disconnect between what divisional leaders are feeling and sharing upwards and what HR is putting forward. Then that disconnect for me is where the tension lives, and when initiatives need funding, when the strategy needs backing by the wider business, and the wider business is kind of going, well, hang on, we're feeling this and you're recommending that. That's where I see a genuine tension, but that's when pushback happens and what's being put forward doesn't generally get signed off.
Okay. Jude, do you have a view on that from especially areas that you see where we don't exactly get it right and get overridden from other stakeholders?
Yeah. I think it's less of leadership for me. I think your question is, HR and leaders, etc. I think it's just the general employee base whereby people are very comfortable doing their business as usual jobs. And AI moves so fast. I think all of us know that. You call it Godspeed technology, call it anything, right? And the challenge is HR and the leaders have this challenge of how do we build a change-able organization? I think that's my biggest challenge. It's not so much persuading the leaders. I think majority of the leaders get it. The world is not the same. And in the case of Singapore, sorry, I don't know about Australia, I don't know about Indonesia, but I think it's the same, that it sometimes is a national agenda. AI can threaten the survival of a small nation, for example, or can accelerate our dominance.
Okay. Lovely. So if I was to take that a little further, June, you take care of a very reputed institution. I've had the fortune of visiting it as well, and you have some amazing campus and some of the other stuff, that the way of teaching is very advanced. So in institutions shaping the future of workforce, what human capabilities are we dangerously underinvesting? So if you take an academic view towards it, are there areas that you feel we are underinvesting where we should sort of up our game? Give us a bit of understanding from an academic lens on this entire topic.
I think fundamentally it's still critical thinking abilities,
Okay.
right? Yeah. Whether you are a STEM student, an engineering student, or you are a social science student, that project that you do, the little startup, the little research that you do, you need to embrace that critical thinking ability so that your project can take flight from being just a classroom endeavor to now one with societal impact. Because in a practical sense, this is how they will find employment, right? With AI, they are looking for people who are not just book smart.
And are you making also changes? Because I've heard about all the futuristic plans that SUTD has. Are you sort of seeing a change in the way you would want to look at how academics is going to sort of move forward, especially on subjects and skill sets in the way AI is sort of delivered? If you can get some of that input for our viewers as well.
Yes. So our faculty has begun to actually look at some of the electives that they offer and embed AI into them. And in fact, put a couple of the offerings as mandatory instead of it being an elective. All right. So what comes in the freshman year would have AI. So there's some shifts. And I think, if you don't mind, if I move away from students,
Yeah.
even professors, your research, it has to be AI based. It has to have real world relevance. It has to have positive societal impact. Yeah. So the classical professor is great, but it's not enough. And so, how do we continue to be a very innovative and entrepreneurial university? So, about a year ago, for example, we were big on what a program that we call Baby Shark. We would fund students for doing projects, for being innovative. But you know what? With the threat of the future of work, and you know our graduates are potentially may not have employment around the world, and Singapore is not alone. We are now pivoting that Baby Shark program into a venture centric program so that our students not only do a exploratory startup project into one where they will be given specific guidance, and we are bringing industry professional, what we call C suites in residence. That means we take C people, C level technical people, strong people, business people to come and guide them so that they have the maximum opportunity for their project to be actually viable, to be a venture, and someone would be interested to fund them, including they themselves being the startup owner, right?
Interesting. Interesting.
Correct. And this is how Singapore will also remain competitive if we are innovative. So innovation has now taken an AI slant. It needs to be commercialized. So imagine your traditional university producing students now has to balance the enterprise side of things, right, without sacrificing the soul of teaching students and making sure they graduate. That their projects have world relevance, and they are the premier students that outside employers would want to hire because they are already tech enabled and ready to solve your problems.
Wow, wow. So you're really, what you're talking about is really getting the right kind of talent to orchestrate this change, because it's really the professors and the input that's going to get into the system that might
Correct.
change the whole output of what the university might deliver.
Yeah,
And you being the CHRO, an orchestrator of that could just mean the difference between the competitive edge that would be there in this institute versus what would be available outside. And I
correct.
think that's very powerful
Yeah,
of
yeah,
how we are sort of
yeah.
thinking this through.
You can't tell the students AI is important when the professors are not embracing it. And then if you come to the back office, it's the same. But these things take time. But there are some low hanging fruits that you have to start transforming. All right, even in the area of policy. Yeah.
Lovely.
Even in the small, simple area of policy, you have to start transforming. And I can give you an example later. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. So we'll come to that, and Aditya, to you, especially on the TP side of things and what you're seeing in the industry across Southeast Asia. Where do you see the role of HR leaders then evolving? How can HR really translate human needs into systems, processes, culturals that actually work? Because in my interaction with multiple leaders, we getting the technology is getting advanced and we're getting all those tools that are available,
Yeah.
but they are breaking the moment it is being laid out in organizations. It's a huge change management piece that, and the orchestrator of that is the CHRO. How do you see that from a growth standpoint?
So yeah, I'm very become very pragmatic here. Yeah, just give you a little bit background of TP. You know
Okay.
about how TP business models looks like, right? So actually, just for informations, in 2025, actually we are onboarding 5,046 new hire. So with our recruitment funnel only 10%, 10 until 15%, it means that I have to process 10 times 10 times more candidates than we compared to the one we are onboarded. So you can see here that we need to listen first, as as the orchestrator of the growth, right? This is what the business needs. So we need to onboarding that a lot of people. Then how AI then able to help us later on. So not the other way around. So it's not just simply blindly put the AI into the system, but what we need to help uh, the business, right? So we need to listen first. So we need to start with the data. So we know exactly how much we are expecting to be onboarded for TP, how many people, how many candidates that we need to process, and what is our pain point, where AI can take a place in helping us moving forward. So I'm very easy to differentiate three processes into our HR process. So the first one is actually the human process. This is the top level of processes, which is no AI, no system that able to do these processes or this task, this job, except for human being, right? So the second tier is actually augmented. It means the job, the task can be performed by human with the help of AI. Then the lowest part, the lowest tier is actually automated. This is the job on the task that can easily automated by the AI or the system. So I try to categorize those processes in HR, for example, because I'm talking HR, I'm talking in TP. HR means the TP itself, because we're talking about human. So I put as much as possible into the third layer, which is the automated one. So I categorize all the jobs, all the what you call tasks into the third layer, then try what AI can help me to automate this kind of job. Then we can focus on the second layer and the first layer, right? So that's very important, that we need to listen and understand the process first in the first place, not just blindly implementing AI and then we are chaos around and adapting ourselves what skills we need. Because actually if we know exactly what we are doing, then the AI will help us. Then we are the shaping the AI, how the AI operates moving forward. So for example, if we are being mature, then we able to say no to certain AI processes. For example, in Indonesia, for TP Indonesia, we for the recruitment process, we were about to implement the chatbot. Yeah, we call it ENA.ai basically. But for in TP Global, maybe in the US, in the other country, in the other geographies, it might works. So basically, ENA.ai actually is a chatbot, is an AI bot that call the candidate directly through voice call and ask, "Hi, this is Anna from TP. Then we are going to, based on your application for customer service positions, we would like to proceed with interview." So it's very automated. We don't have to do anything. Then for Indonesia, sometimes it doesn't work, but because it seems that this is real. Is this scamming going on right now? Right? Is TP really? Are you a chatbot? Is it human? So sometimes in Indonesia, the culture part is not really, we are not ready yet to accept this kind of technology. So sometimes we can say no, just postpone. I don't say it's put a hold freeze forever, but postpone first, right? Because Indonesian candidate is more tend to perceive to believe and trust the human itself instead of the bot calling out of them. So I think that's the first phase that we need to listen. We need to understand our processes and understand the pain point and understand where AI can help us. So that in that way we are not losing control. So we are controlling the AI. And trust me, a lot of things we can improve with AI. So we don't need to worry about losing control, because as long as we are still able to do the analysis. So that's my take, Puskal.
Lovely, lovely. Thanks for sharing that. And I totally agree. It's the augmentation, it's the partnership that we are able to establish, and the lens that People Matters is seeing as we interact with so many leaders in the communities, I think there's a big opportunity for CHROs to take that lead and sort of drive that, which is in conjunction with how the business is wanting to sort of grow, build. Because at the end of it, the people who are inside the organization needs to adapt to the changed way of doing things. Otherwise, any technology will fall flat. Especially in the voice piece, we've seen examples like Klarna on going and making youth statements in the US market and some of the other European markets, where they've sort of looked at running processes through tech and AI, but again, re-recruiting back voice callers and making sure that recruitment happens through the voice-enabled real human stuff. So there's this augmentation, where we see the right kind of balance and business outcome that could be driven should take center stage, and the CHRO could be the voice of sort of driving that as well. Coming to you, David, and you've seen so many organizations trying to work towards this. It's this combination of people, strategy, and technology coming together. What tends to work, and what are the areas where things actually break down? So in your opinion, if there are some examples that you could cite for our audience, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Happy to dive into that one. So what tends to work is being able to answer the human why before the business how. What tends to happen is when you're close to the work, so when you own the strategy, and that is my background, I'm a strategist by trade. So I'm guilty of this. When you own the strategy, when you've developed the roadmap for the technology, what you can lose in that process is, what does someone hearing it for the first time think and feel about this? How does this land in their world? And we're often, particularly towards the end of a project, when it's starting to get into that public space and we're starting to look for that organizational alignment to roll things out, we've actually lost touch as the project owners or contributors. We've been in the offsites, we've done the work, we're at the end of the process, and we're bringing people in at the very beginning. And their headspace is, what does this mean for me? Is this more work? Is this a change of role? Is this a risk to my role? They're the thought processes that often the leaders of these projects are not conscious of. So having one clear narrative that links the strategy to the decisions and is consistent across everyone involved. And for me, it has to cover a few things. What's happening and why now? What are the trade-offs? So honesty matters. Nothing's perfect in any strategy or any change program or any technology. So to do A, we are giving up doing parts of B. Or in rolling this out in this way, this isn't now going to be possible because we don't have the funding for it, or this technological solution only does A and B and not C. There has to be some trade-offs. And when we don't put those in early and we're not open about that, that starts to erode one of the big issues I'll come to, which is trust. We want to paint a picture of what great looks like. What is the end state that we're shooting for? And then what changes when we get there? What is on the other side of this? And again, the good and the bad. What's it going to feel like when we've rolled through whatever it is we're going to do, however long that's going to take? What is it we're striving for? Now, I touched on this. The big one that derails many, even with that piece of work in hand, is, do they trust in the leaders enough to believe that that direction and that shared narrative is true? So strategy and technology, any change creates FUD. And FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I love the word FUD as a summary, because FUD is kind of how it lands. It lands with a thump. And FUD tests leadership trust. Are these people being real? Do I buy this message from them? Do I think they can take me on this journey? And the subconscious piece that's going on in the back of the brain is, am I safe? That's what I'm questioning. And if I don't feel safe, if I don't have complete trust in these leaders, if I don't feel that narrative is lining up to how they've shown up in the past, that will derail things. It will derail things, maybe not immediately, but it will derail things as projects roll out. And I think the final piece that I see make a big difference to whether organizations get alignment early or not is whether it's a culture where it's safe to challenge. So can people bring up what they're thinking and feeling? Now, when this happens, it actually identifies hidden risks early. You're kind of crowdsourcing what people think from a small group of people who are super keen and excited and done the work to now a wider group of people. And when people feel safe challenging, then we can find those hidden risks. We actually get to hear what people are actually thinking. So we can talk about it openly. We can start to understand the nuances to how people are thinking about the things that we've been thinking about for a long time. When we get really agreeable meetings, the meetings that go really smoothly, no one comments, no one puts their hands up, no one chucks any hand grenades, the negativity then goes into the corridors. It doesn't mean that there wasn't any negativity. It just means we're not in control of the narrative because we're not hearing what's going on. So those cultures can feel really uncomfortable. So when there's a challenging culture in the moment, it can feel really uncomfortable. But what you see is that you get alignment through challenge early. You get a stronger connection and buy-in up front, and that stops projects getting derailed completely out of the blue down the track.
Lovely. Thanks for sharing that and pointing that out as well. What I love is the whole authenticity part of things. And my opinion of it, in terms of interacting with multiple of those leaders, it's also an opportunity to give space for someone else to also lead from the teams, because no one has the perfect answer. And if no one has the perfect answer, then why always the leaders need to lead? Give space. Maybe folks who are coming within the organization, or who've been wanting to champion some of this stuff around AI, could take leads and enable that growth as well. I think it's a huge opportunity, I feel, for leaders to create that safe space for people to sort of look forward, drive, experiment, and take charge, because the whole organization needs to move forward at the end of it.
100%. And I think AI is a great example of owning the fact we don't have all the answers and crowdsourcing people to step into that space and work through it together. And again, it requires a culture that's built on that kind of, I call it the boss persona. So when everyone's standing up and being protected by title and using perfect polished stories, then we don't get this openness to share and to challenge. And with new technology, with things that we're just not quite sure how they're going to roll out, that's a great time to bring people in early, and kind of build teams around. Let's figure out not if this is going to work, but how do we make this work, rather than trying to kind of create this veneer that it's going to be perfect when actually we don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I was speaking to someone, and one of the comment that I had is maybe AI will get more leaders to drop their titles and think beyond in the coming times, and may there be environment for it to happen. Such are times of change that we are living in. But moving forward, on coming to you, June. As a CHRO and the community that we are, what is the one capability that you feel CHROs must personally build in the next, let's say, 12 months? Things are changing so fast that nowadays I've stopped asking for 2 years, 3 years questions. I think 12 months is good line of sight. What should we do as CHROs next 12 months if there was one capability that you would ask for to build?
I think 12 months is too long, honestly, with AI, because I found that the plans I had in my thought partnership paper for the organization has to be torn apart and replaced and rethink. All right, I'll give an example, then I'll answer your question. So we started sometime, I would say, probably second half of last year, because that's 2025, right? We're now in 2026. Believing that I need to do job leveling, define the job architecture of the university's next lab. AI came along. You ask yourself as HR, why do you need that architecture of how many grades? What exactly is the job description where the future of work is going to take dominance in people's work? Not even if it doesn't completely replace it, I think it'll take a while for it to replace, but it augments it. And when it augments it, we free up time, right, for higher value added work. So So why do a job leveling, painful job leveling program, to be followed by change management? So I think that's a very real on the ground question. That's why I say 12 months is too long, because it took me 4 months to realize that, do I really want this project? By the time it's done and you do all the change communication, right? Jobs are changed, that thing that you do is just a white elephant. So I would shorten that to maybe even 3 to 6 months. Now, if you haven't, my advice to my staff and obviously to the HR community there, it's not about learning the AI tools, it's about AI literacy. Just finding out more about AI. Don't take for granted. AI means many things, and sometimes I hear we need to teach older workers AI. I don't exactly understand what it means, because older workers struggle with WhatsApp on phone. When you teach them AI, exactly what are you teaching them? Right? So you have to think through as a HR person, the utopia, the dystopia, and make your stand. And I think David and Sri kind of alluded to it. Is AI for automation? Because if AI is for automation, then jobs disappear. If AI is for augmentation, then there's a reskilling, up leveling. But there's some work where we don't want AI, right? For example, how we admit and enroll students. We admit and enroll students through face-to-face interviews. Really? Do we want to send a robot, agentic AI, chatbot to interview students? God forbid. Because
We
in
can do
AI,
it,
values are
June.
very important. In AI, values are very important, and they can only take place through a dialogue and exchange. Yeah. So the one up capability that I would ask of my own self, my team, is get AI literate, understand all the different arguments of AI. When is AI a snake oil? When is the empire of AI? If you've read Karen Howe's book, why is she so disagreeable with Sam Altman? What's all that's happening to Silicon Valley? Is AI about commercialization? Having making the rich richer. All right, uh, that can be it. Or it's really AI helping the human race. So I think the first demand that I would ask of myself and my staff, get really literate about all the arguments. The second thing is we can't run away from. You can't wait for the business to wait for you to re-engineer your HRTA process, because I don't have the luxury. I have to start augmenting the TA talents, whether that's professorship or whether that's IT or whether that's finance. I have to run the race to acquire these talents, and sometimes still live with a very manual process in some other aspects. And that's okay. It's always better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Aditya.
just to add, Puskar, because change with the AI in this AI era, I think is not something that we can postpone, or we can arrange. Okay, let's launch next month. So it's happening right now. It's happening. So it's something that we cannot avoid. So now, I think, just to add to your questions, what's the CHRO most capability that require right now actually is actually like fixing while flying. We need to redesign roles, reskills, like June say, because some job is already obsolete. There's nothing, this automated already. If you're still doing it, then it's like you're living on the stone age. So you need to reskill with the current manpower, because you don't want to say let go everyone because the AI is doing the job. Once again, AI is not replacing human, so you need to reskill them, then understand how to. Yeah, I think I would say the skill will be organization development will be very crucial, because talking about AI is taking place everywhere. Then now we are, as the HR, is actually the one who are able to navigate those kind of changes, right? So that's my take on that.
If I
Lovely.
may supplement my,
Yeah.
my answer, right, for CHRO, I think we need to have a teachable point of view. So the AI literacy, of AI language acumen, the different views where you stand is very important. It's
Yep.
very important because you have a godlike technology called AI, but the reality is all of us are either working in what I call medieval organizations. How do you make the change? So I think it's for us to understand the challenges of AI, be able to articulate, have a point of view so that we have a voice at the table. Right? We don't solve the AI automation or augmentation by ourselves. The whole organization has to decide its strategy and priorities. So HR people be literate about AI.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you for that, June. And my urge to everyone is, can we take like two steps ahead? It needs to begin with AI literacy, but can we move towards orchestration? Because all the tech that's coming in, a lot of failure points are happening when it is entering in the organization. So to solve for that, quick changes need to also be dealt with, and I think that's where the CHRO's role becomes more and more critical to drive that. So, but if we were to look at, and this question's for all of you, if we were to look at CHRO as an orchestrator, because the lens really changes what's expected out of the role. Then if you were to look at the CHRO to step into that business orchestrator role, especially this whole combination of human and AI as an intersect, then it must also stop doing certain things, because unless you stop doing things, you won't be able to sort of pitch into what lies ahead. In your opinion, what do you think CHRO should stop doing? Anyone?
I'm happy. I'll jump in. It probably won't be a popular one, but it's stop being the nice function that avoids the tension. Growth requires some tough, nice kind of conversations, particularly at the pace at which the world is moving, organizations are moving, and teams are being challenged. And so holding on to the way things have been done in the past, and June touched on some of this, the need for change, the need for constant reevaluation, but also carrying poor performance, carrying leaders who aren't able to show up into the way that the organization needs them to. The cost of allowing politics to sit out within the organization, those corridor conversations not being addressed. I think when HR avoids tension, then organizations will hold on to broken dynamics for longer than they should. And at the moment, the pace at which a broken dynamic within the organization being unaddressed can lead to bigger issues faster. I think that if we go back to where we started and my kind of opening piece around the sort of two organizations, I think even if currently within an organization, HR is seen as a function that isn't aligned to driving growth, staying as a nice function is only going to reinforce that.
Okay, lovely. And
So I'll name
June,
three
Adhityo.
practical areas. Yeah. I'll name three practical areas. I think one is to have the courage to say no. For example, I still get a lot of, I'm not alone, right? In many organizations, even before this that I've worked for, and I'm sure it's true of your friends in HR as well, we still get a lot of requests for new headcounts. Doing the same old job, doing business as usual. So how do you push back and say, let's look at the job again, right? Can this be combined? Can this be eliminated? Can this be simplified? Can this be automated? But obviously that takes a little bit of time. And so saying no to some headcount requests for business as usual, routine tasks and jobs need to happen now. Otherwise, you will hire with regret. That's point number one. So leading yourself with courage, right? CHRO. Number two, your whole performance management framework. Okay, it's nothing new for HR people, and I'm sure all of you are smarter and more experienced than I am. We often look at performance potential, but there is that retention value. Okay, the third dimension. So what is the X factor, that retention value for your organization, we have to determine it. And I think in that case, we have kind of identified what it should be for ourselves. But for anyone out there, think about it. What's the X factor with AI that you're looking for in your top talent? So that would be number two. Number three, simple things like policies. So, for example, in Hong Kong, I think one of the university was shot with some AI generated sexual harassment case, for example. All of us are not familiar with this. All of us are caught unaware with the dominance of AI. Then how do you quickly, you know, even change your policy around use of AI deep fakes, AI generated harassment, and put in that word into your policy that these are not acceptable. These are of disciplinary expectations if that happens. So as simple as things like that. How do you look at some of your policy and reflect, you know, AI bad behavior or AI harassment so that employees have the expectation and you would have a case to manage that discipline issue. So it's a whole spectrum of things that a HR person can do in terms of orchestrating change from the day to day to the strategic to even policies and governance.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And to you, Aditya.
Yes, I think I just want to add one more because David and June is already covered almost everything. So I'm saying that stop. We are need to stop assuming people will adapt to AI on their own, right? Some people will, but not all of them. So CSRO on the SR lead need to be in the driver's seat for this. AI, yes, we're talking about artificial intelligence, but still, people or human is some, crucial part that you cannot left. So you need to be able to, what do you say, side by side, augmented AI work, and also there's some human work that AI cannot take. Then we, as an HR, need to lead this people to understand the changes that will take place anyway, like it or not. So I think we need to stop assuming people will adapt on their own. So I think that's the only one I want to add, Oscar.
Lovely. Thanks so much, guys. I think we had a very interesting sort of unplugged discussion on what we feel about this space and how it is evolving. I'm a huge fan of using the right vocab. The vocab really sort of gets you to think and teleports you to what the possibility could be. And that's why I think this whole orchestrating business growth becomes so important, and even the role of HR as well. Can we sort of move more forward from more rear view mirror looking to what lies ahead and what businesses sort of need to drive, because change is inevitable. There's so much that's happening, but can then the CHRO play that orchestrator's role and get herself or himself into that driver's seat? I think that's the quest. It's not an easy journey. It needs a lot of stuff, like June talked about AI literacy, David talked about mindset, and how leaders need to move forward. Aditya talked about systems, the processes, and how he sees orchestrating that in the business operations context. But all of that put together, can it really pave the way forward for HR to really lead the legacy and have at a time when so many things are changing, really put the hand up and say that I'm going to solve for this, or I'm going to sort of move forward and drive this. This and more is what we're going to sort of deep dive as part of our conference as well, and that's like full 2 days of doing that. The day one at Marina Bay Sands, and day two in terms of study tours, where the delegations visit different offices, and the conference happens across Singapore. TechHR Singapore is constructed in a unique way. When we started doing this conference, we said, why should it only happen within a convention center? Both things have its own merit, so we wanted to always make it very experiential in nature. So day one at Marina Bay Sands, and day two, the conference actually happens across Singapore in different organizations, where organizations host group of people who are curious enough to understand how things are happening in those respective organizations in terms of HR strategy, business performance, and what's the role of technology. So as promised, all of that and more at the conference, and I hope that more number of people sort of join us, and you'll also get to experience our speakers content in a more deeper way. There are workshops that we have also created, master classes to suit you all. So I'm looking forward to all of that in March. So looking forward, and thank you so much, David, June, and Adhityo. Looking forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining in. You can follow more updates on hashtag TechHRSG. See you all, and have a lovely day ahead. All right, thank you so much. Signing off.